This conference will now be recorded.
So in our yesterday's class, we were working with OBJ browse. So OBJ browse is we are just using that activity in order to pull the data from data page and to data table and to store that in the clipboard page. So for that the reason we are using one activity and using which we can able to create one page and we can able to get multiple instances with OBJ browse. So once we get all the data ready onto the clipboard page, we can able to give that as a source store drop down. So that is what we have discussed. And apart from that clipboard page, there will be two other sources also, that is like report definition and data pages. So we'll discuss the importance of each and every source and when we should use which one. That's we'll discuss today. So if I just run the flow, so let me put the tracer if you want. So as I was saying, till here activity will not be executed. This is the third screen. So in the fourth screen, whenever we are trying to give this particular activity or the clipboard page as the source to the drop down, then only this activity will be loaded. So if I just click on submit button, it will be first loading this particular flow action. So this flow action will be loaded and this flow action will be loading this section initially, and this section has to load this region drop down. Then after it will be loading this layout, I mean this drop down. So before loading this drop down, it will be just checking for the source. So the source what we are giving here is activity using clipboard page. So before loading this, it has to run one activity and it has to store all the details into the clipboard, and from there it has to get all the source. So this is how PRPC will be working. So from where are we getting this activity triggered? Only when this section is being loaded. That is important. Sorry. So if I want to go to that particular section directly from here, I can able to go. So this is the section, and whenever this section is loaded, this drop down will be loaded and the source will be responsible for running this activity. So now we'll work on the next drop down that is hospital selection, and even there also we'll be using the OBJ browse, that is like clipboard page. So I'm just double clicking on this and I'm trying to change the source as clipboard page. So if you want to define one clipboard page here, first thing is we have to get the data onto the clipboard. So once we get the data ready onto the clipboard only, then we can able to access this. But in order to get that page or the data created on the clipboard, we have to use some methods like page new or OBJ browse. Okay, so let us follow the same approach. I'm trying to create one activity. In that I will be using OBJ browse. Why? Because I want to get the multiple instances. Not to get the multiple instances, we have to go for OBJ browse only. And that multiple results will be stored on clipboard and that will be given as source. This will be just like a practice for you. Let me do that. So we can able to use the existing activity, no? So whatever the activity I'm using here, I can able to use the existing one. Okay, so this is the activity what we are using for pulling the states, and here we are using particular class name and the corresponding fields. Now let me create one more step. Instead of creating one new activity, we can able to do that also. So if you want to create one new activity and use the OBJ browse for the hospital list, we can able to do that. So let me use the existing activity. I'm trying to use OBJ browse onto hospital list. So the class from which I want to get the data here is hospital. This is the data class, no? Which is having storage, and the data that we are getting from this class will be like in multiple instances that because of OBJ browse, and I want to store it on the clipboard page. Create any of the clipboard page, something like hospital list. So if we are defining page name using OBJ browse, you need not define it in the pages and classes. This is what we have seen. And if you are trying to create one new page, that page has to be referred to one class. PRPC will not understand that. And now we are using this page into this context, I mean into this OBJ browse context. Whatever the results we are getting from this class, it will be stored into this page. So PRPC can able to understand. We did not again separately define it in the pages and class. Just uncheck this, and now I want to pull the data. I want to pull all the values, or I want to get only the limited value like state code. Sorry, hospital code. And I'm giving hospital name. Okay, so just save this. So if I just run, I can able to see this particular page created onto the clipboard. That is my expectation. So just run. So this is successful, and click on clipboard. As I told you, OBJ browse, in order to get multiple instances, it has to use one OOTB page list called PX results. State list we got, and there should be like hospital list here. This is the one. So if we just click on this particular page, we can able to see these values. So the number of results we are getting from this OBJ browse, and the PX statement post and PX statement pre, these two also important. So if we just expand this, we will be getting this PX results is the OOTB page list, which is in the code pega list. So that's why whatever the page we are defining, it is having PX results. No, that PX results is from this class. So this page will be referred to this class. And if we expand this PX results, each and every result will be having the data of this class. If we just click on this, we'll be getting the data related to this hospital data. No, and this is because of this OBJ class. That's why this page will be referred to this class. So now we got all the data related to hospitals. We have to define this in the pages and classes. No, I'm just copying it. That's it. So I want to go to that section, and this is the hospitals drop down. Change the source to clipboard page, and before that, PRPC has to understand the page what we are defining. No, so these are already defined for the state, and now I want to use this page also. This will be referring to this class. So just check in the clipboard what is this page related to which class, then we can able to copy it from there directly. And this is the page we will be using it, and this refers to this class. So this is the blind practice. Okay, so now double click, change the source to clipboard page, and just directly click on down arrow. We should be selecting this PX results page, and now I am getting this page onto the clipboard by running one activity. So what is the activity? The same activity, no? Getting my point? Umayyan Tulani?
Yeah, watching.
So whenever this particular dropdown is getting loaded, before this dropdown is getting loaded, first initially what it will be doing is, it will be first executing this activity, then it will be pulling all the results and it will be storing it in the clipboard page, and those results are to be considered as a source here. Okay. So in this process, what it is doing, it is initially executing the source rule. So source rule will be executed, and in turn it will be executing one activity. Whenever this activity is being executed, PRPC will be generating some automatic queries like PX SQL statement pre using the class name what we are defining here. It will be pulling all the data. It will be again converting it that into PX SQL statement post. It will be interacting with the database. It will be pulling out. It will be storing all the data onto the clipboard, and the data will be considered as a source to this dropdown. So this much process that PRPC will be following background. So just click on submit. Now save this. So you can able to refresh, or you can able to create new work object. I'm refreshing. So now we are seeing all these values. So these are all the values we are getting here, and these are all the values we are getting now. And if you want to put any placeholder, you can able to do that. Okay, so now just save this. Now let me show you more technically now. Now I'm running this work object. I'm putting the tracer on. Why? Because in interviews they will be asking you where this activity will be exactly executed. So before that, you make sure you have activities selected, and if you want to trace the flow also, you can able to do that. So I'm just putting the flow on, and click OK. Now again run the flow. Okay, why? Because I want to trace from starting what PRPC is doing from the beginning. Okay, so just click on this. So this is the first section we have loaded. So background what PRPC is executing, this is what we have to see. We have selected only flow activity and some of the few limited rules, no? So this is the flow rule that has been executed whenever we are trying to use this. So this is the name of the flow. If we just click on this, automatically it will be opened in the Designer Studio. I'm just clicking on it now. Go to the Designer Studio. We can able to open the flow directly from there. Okay. So first thing what it is doing is it's initially starting the flow. This is the shape. It is initially starting the flow. Then after it is coming across one connector. This is the connector. Then again it is coming to, it is again doing one routing to this assignment shape. This is assignment shape, and this assignment has been started. Now assignment has been ended. I mean, this has been ended. We can able to see this section loaded, no? And this flow is idle now. Flow has not been completed, and it is still waiting for the user response. Okay, we have to take some action on this. That's why flow is showing as idle here. Okay, we are nowhere saying like flow has been ended. Okay, I'm just clicking on submit button now. It has to take some more things, like it has to again follow the same things. Flow action has started, flow has been resumed, connector started, again it routed to another assignment, and flow is kept idle likewise. Now again I click on submit button. Okay, now if you want to make any changes, you can able to do this. Now again check, nothing happened. Why? Because did we put any when conditions? I think we have not checked when conditions. Actually we should be getting when conditions also. That's okay. So just click on submit button, and now we are seeing this activity executed. Okay, so pull states is the activity we are looking for. So when we are in the next before screen, that is when we are in the third screen, we are not seeing any activity executed. So whenever we came across this particular screen, this flow action has to be loaded. Initially this assignment will be loaded, and this flow action will be loaded, and this first drop down will be loaded. Whenever it is loading the second drop down, this activity will be executed. Activity has been begun. It will be doing the obj browse. You can able to see we are seeing two obj browsers. I mean, two steps here. First step is to get obj browse for state list, and second step is to get obj browse for hospital list. So for this control, we are running one activity. This is the activity, and here it is executing both the steps here. Okay, now for this third control, I mean for this hospital control, even this hospital control has to be loaded by running one activity only. So this is as per the design. So as per this third drop down design, we have to get values from the drop down. I mean, we have to get values from the clipboard, and in turn it has to execute the activity. So that's why we are seeing this activity 2 times executed. So did you understand what I'm trying to say? So in this whole process, PRPC is trying to execute the same activity for 2 times. Why? Because in the initial execution of this activity only, so till event number 37, so by the event number 37, we will be getting all the necessary data. So even if we're running, I mean, even activity has been executed one time, we can able to get the data from both the tables. Hospital data we can able to interact, and we can able to get the data from the state list also. By just running one activity for one time, we can able to get both the pages onto the clipboard. But now, whenever I'm trying to use the third control, and if I'm trying to give the same source, PRPC has no intelligence to just check whether that page is already existing in the clipboard or not. So this third control is to get the data from hospital list, and it has to get the data from clipboard. So by this time we are supplying this hospital page onto the clipboard only. PRPC has no mechanism to identify whether that page what it is looking for is already there in the clipboard or not. But still it is again running the source rule. So it is again running the source rule. It is again running the activity. It is loading all the database queries. It is interacting with the database, getting back the data, and storing again in the same page. Okay, hospital list is already created by the time of second drop down execution only. Again it will be again it will be running the same activity, and it will be again loading the hospital list as well as state list, and again it will be clearing the data what is already there in the clipboard, and again it will be loading the same data. Okay, so activities are just like an non-intelligence in this kind of. So where the activities will not able to understand whether that particular data what PRPC is looking for is already existing or not. So that's where it will be keep on interacting with the database all the time. So wherever we are trying to use, it is completely interacting. Suppose if I have one more control here, and there also I'm trying to use the same activity to obj browse. So when we are designing this activity, my intention is I want to reduce the less number of rules. So that's why I'm trying to execute the activity for only one time, and within which it can able to hit the database for only one time, and it can able to it can able to get the data of 3 tables at a time. Okay, so in this whole process we are trying to hit database for only one time. No, during one time it is getting all the 3 tables data. So this seems to be much perfect, I mean much perfect in terms of performance, activity creation wise. But now PRPC is again following the first approach, meaning it is hitting that it is executing this activity for 3 times. In the first time execution, it will be interacting with the database and it will be pulling data from 3 different tables. It will be creating 3 pages onto the clipboard. And for the second time, instead of it is again hitting the database, it can just simply check in the clipboard whether the page is already existing or not. So by this time, by this section, I mean by this dropdown is being loaded, we will be having hospital list ready onto the clipboard, and it can able to directly copy the data from there to here. No, instead of it again instead of again it's running the source rule, and instead of again hitting the database, generating the queries, and again clearing the existing clipboard pages and again putting the same pages onto the clipboard. So this is the process what activities will be following. So that's why PRPC will not encourage us to use activities at all. So wherever there is no scope for us, we have to go for activities only. Why? Because activity designing might be different. I might be executing activity in one way, and you might be executing the activity in another way. Why? Because these are the customized rules. Not all the rules are customized in pega. Everything got completely automated mostly, and this type of activities rules we can able to use the methods. So I can able to use this by writing 3 different activities, or I can able to use with one activity only. And for this obj browse, I can able to create one page new also. Ultimately we'll be getting the same output, but the load on the PRPC will be becoming more. So wherever we can able to avoid going for activities, we can able to do that. We should be doing that. So that's where PRPC recommends us to go for data pages and report definition. So you understood, no? So in this whole process, in order to run one work object ID, I'm seeing this. I'm seeing the same activity executed for 2 times. And if I'm trying to use the same control in the next page or in 3 or 4 pages, then it will be executing the same activity for those many times. No, it has to interact with the database for those many times. No, and this same work object ID. Or if I'm trying to run this work object for 20 times or 100 times a day, so this is one time I'm executing this flow, and I might be executing this flow for 100 times a day. I might be getting 100 customers per day, and I might be getting 1000 customers per day. Okay, so in that process it will be hitting almost like 2000 times with the database. It will be executing this activity for 2000 times. It will be generating this source rule. So initially the source rule has to be executed initially. So for 1000 times it has to execute the source rule for 2000 times. Okay, and it has to generate all the automated queries for 2000 times, and it has to hit the database for 2000 times, and it has to create pages onto the clipboard for 2000 times. Okay, so instead what we can able to do is, if we can able to make PRPC to think like whether the page what it is looking for is already there in the clipboard or not, matter will be solved. No? Okay, understanding both of you? That's why PRPC will not encourage us to go for activities wherever possible, but in some cases we have to go for activities only. If you want to interact with the database, we should be going with activities only. It completely depends upon the business requirement. So in this kind of business scenarios, in order to get the values onto the drop down or some other small requirements, we can able to go for drop downs for activity other rules. We can avoid activities, but there will be cases where we have to interact with the external database, or where we can able to interact with the third party applications like using integrations. Then we can able to use the activities only. The activity has no intelligence to check whether the page is already existing in the clipboard or not. So instead it will be keep on executing as many times we are defining it on the control. So understood the difference, no? So by just executing this work object, putting the trace on, I'm trying to see the same activity executed 2 times. Now again run the new work object ID. We should be creating, we should be see activity executed for 2 times again. Understood? Understood, both of you, Uma and Tulani?
Yeah.
Clear, no? No confusion, no? So ultimate goal of this activity is to interact with the database in this scenario. But here, if you want to get the data, either using report definition or any source or activities, anything, we have to get the data from database only. But here with the problem with the activities is, in one shot, it's trying to get the pages. In one shot, it's trying to interact with the database and pulling the data, but it is not able to use the same data which is already in the clipboard. It is again interacting with the database for multiple times. So instead of hitting this database for these many times, we can able to go for another approach. So hitting of the database is the big disadvantage in terms of performance, not only with pega, in any technology. So I'm trying to have this more elaborative discussion. Why? Because I don't want to make you get confusion between these sources. So why PRPC is giving 3 sources and where do we use this, which one? So you understood, no? If you want to go with clipboard, we can able to use activities, and that too depending upon the business scenario. So in this approach, we should be going for data pages. That is the best practice. I'll tell you maybe at the end of class, end of this class or tomorrow's class, you'll be understanding. Tulani, you also understood, no?
Yes, Chandra. I created a separate activity.
Okay,
I
no
didn't think
problem.
of
Yeah,
using
yeah.
the same activity.
Even if you create separate activity also, it will be executing that activity, first activity here, second activity here. And if you run this work object ID for 100 times, it has to hit database for 200 times. Okay. And likewise, if you are using this work object for okay. So those many times source rule has to be executed, those many times hitting the database has to be done, those many times clipboard pages are to be created freshly. So don't think like it will be creating multiple pages on the clipboard. So ultimately only one page has to be there on the clipboard with this name. So on the first time interaction, it will be pulling the data from this class, it will be storing into this page on the clipboard. And in the second time also, it is again executing the same activity. Then what it will be doing is, it will be again generating the queries, pulling the data, and it will be identifying that there is page already existing. It will be clearing all that data which is in this page, and it will again load into this page only. So we'll be seeing only one page at a time. So this is the importance of clipboard. We can able to get the output using this approach also. We are getting the proper output. And if you want to give any sorting also, you can able to do that. So whatever the thing we can able to do with other rules, everything can be done with activities also. Activities are most powerful. We can able to replace this activity with most of the rules, but PRPC will not encourage us. So we can able to replace these activities with data transform. What are the thing we are trying to do with data transform? Everything can be done with activities. And what are the validations we are showing? Most of the things can be used. Most of the things can be replaced with activities. Even validations also can able to do this. But PRPC will not encourage. Why? Because I might be doing in one way and you might be doing in another way. Why? Because PRPC is giving control to us. We can able to customize this activity in what the way I want. So in that process, performance may be reduced. Best practices may not be followed. So that's why PRPC encourages us to go for report definitions and data pages. If you just check here, there is another source. There is another source like report definition. So now let us discuss what is report definition. So whenever we are creating one data type, So we have created one data type for states as well as the hospital. No. So whenever we are creating one data type, what are all the rules that are created automatically? Report definition and data pages. Rest all thing we already discussed now. Report definitions and data pages. So if you observe here, PRPC is automatically creating these two rules only, like data pages and report definition. Is it creating activities for us? Why? Because it will not encourage us to you go for activities, and it will not be creating that. That's why activity rule will not be created automatically. So if you want to use the data from this data class, it encourages us to go for either report definition or the data pages. That's why these rules will be created automatically. Now we'll discuss about this report definition. So if we create any data class like states, hospitals, or some other data class, whatever the automatic created report definition name will be the same one, data table editor report. So if we just check in the hospital also, the automatic created table name report definition name will be the same one, but data pages name will be different. It will be different. It will be as per the class name. Okay, there will be finding like d underscore hospital. Hospital is likewise, and report definition name will be same all the time. Now we'll discuss what is report definition, how can we pull the data using report definition, and what's its importance. So just click on that. This is for the states. No, so this is how report definition rule will be looking like. Even with this report definition also, we have to hit the database and it has to store the data. Sorry, it has to retrieve the data, and this will be given as a source here, source to the drop down. So we can able to see this first three are user defined properties and rest all OOTB. So this meant for the processing. Now let me run it. If I just run this existing report definition, PRPC has automatically created for us. No, so let me run this. If I run, I'm directly getting the output. So did we get this kind of output when we are working with activities? So if I'm running one activity, I have to just check in the clipboard or the tracer. But report definition has some user interface. We can able to see the data directly onto the user interface. But with activities, it is not possible. With the development tools only, we can able to see. Okay, we can able to see this data created automatically. So report definition was some user interface, and if you want to store the data or if you want to export or import, anything is possible. So go to actions. We can able to save this report data generated in terms of an Excel, in terms of an PDF. These options will not be there for other rules. So report definition is the advanced one compared to other sources. So by default, what are all the rules what are all the records we have in this particular table, that is like states class, we are getting it here. Okay, now if you want to put some conditions, like I want to get only values which are related to north region or south region, for that what we have done in activities, we have just kept some conditions in the property names, in the property value selection. Here also we can able to do the same. So if we scroll down, we can able to see something like conditions. What are all the property names we defined in this columns? All these values will be coming in the display. If I just delete this, only we'll be getting first two records. We'll be getting only state code and state name. Likewise, we can able to give the property names here which are defined in this class, and based on that, whatever the data we have for these properties, we'll be getting it. And we can able to provide the sorting also. So by default, it has been sorted with the class key. So this is the class key, no? So by default, it will be with the class key. If you just check here, we'll be getting all the values starting with AP. This has been sorted. You can able to see the arrow mark also. And if you want to make other properties sorted also, you can able to do the same. So this will be in the reverse descending order. You can able to make the changes with this report definition. And now if you want to apply some conditions, so what you have to do is scroll down, there will be something like filter options. So here we can able to apply multiple conditions, and if you we can able to put the logical expressions there. Okay, suppose if I want to pull one report definition with all the state values starting with A, state name, contains, let us say. Okay, so what is this purpose? The purpose of this condition is, initially I'll be getting all the results as per this report definition, and in these results it will be again filtering out with the state name which is having Pradesh. So I will be getting Andhra Pradesh or Arunachal Pradesh, like that. So just to save it and run. So I'll be getting as per this. So this is for one condition. Likewise, we can able to include n number of conditions, how we have defined when conditions. No? So in when conditions, we have just defined multiple conditions, and in that we have given logical strings, either and or no. The same thing we can able to do here also. So if the, suppose if I want to just get the report of the states of north and south region. Okay, so I should be allowing the customer to I will be accepting the customer which is from north region or the south region. Then I have to make some changes to this report definition. So based on the definition what we are defining, report will be generated. So I want to apply like region as north. You can able to give contains or equal to whatever the thing you want. You can able to do that based on the strings or the integers. Okay, north or south. If you give is equal, then we have to give the exact thing like this. Or if we give just like this also, it is possible if you are going for contain. So it will be just checking whether this region value is containing no or not. Okay, so if you're confident enough, you can able to go for this value, you can able to compare with this, or if you just know the strings, we can able to go with contains. Okay, so now we should be getting the results. So we're not getting anything. Why? Okay, it is taking end operation here. So if there will be no results with state values, either state value as north and south, no. So I want to go for or condition. So customer might be either from south or north. So save this. Run. So these are all the south values and these are all the north values. So understood, no? So even if you're running the report definition, the same process. It has to interact with the database. It has to itself generate some queries. Okay, it has to generate itself queries. It has to use the px results count, and it will be generating px statement pre, statement post. Process will be same. Let me show you. So you understood, no? Now I want to give this as a source. So let me delete this. So this is for the state. So I'm trying to give this as a report definition, and we have to give the class name. So I'm giving the class name. Okay, and select the report definition. By default, we'll be having report definition in this class only. And now I'll ask you one question. So PRPC will be defining every report definition with the same name. Okay. Why? Because this report definition, what we are creating or what PRPC has created for us, it can able to retrieve the data only from the class. The report definition which is created in the state table can able to retrieve the data only from that state table. You can able to see. I'll be getting only the properties which are linked to the state class only. And if you open hospitals table, and with that report definition, we can able to pull the data only related to that table. So why I'm stressing this is, when we're working with activities, the activity like pull states, where we have created it in the framework work class. And now with that activities, whatever the data I'm trying to pull, I'm trying to pull the data from states table. So activity has been created in one class, and now I'm trying to pull the data from another class also, like another table also. But with this report definition, it is not possible. Wherever this report definition has created, This report definition has created in the states class, and it has to pull only the data from that state class. And now if I want to generate any of the report in my work class, in my framework work class, then what you have to do, you have to create the report definition in this class only. If you are creating any report definition in that class, then we can able to get the data from the class only. So ultimately, whatever the data you want, from which class the data you want, you have to create the report definition in that. But with the activities, as I told you, it will be having many features where it is created in the work class, and it can able to get the data from any other classes. That is the advantages with the activity. So like that, so that's why based on the business scenarios, we have to go for activities, and wherever we can able to get this kind of data, we can avoid activities. So if we just select report definition, if we just give the class name, it will be showing the report definition from the classes only. So give the state name. This is for the reference purpose, sorry, display purpose. Now submit. So same thing, I want to change the value for this also. Report definition, there will be one OOT, sorry, there will be one automated report definition created now. So understanding both of you. This is for and this is for display. Yeah, what Uma? You're saying something? So just submit and save. Now create new work object, right? So submit, go to the next screen and click on submit. So we are getting the same data. Even if we change the source also, we are getting the same data. Now just click on clipboard. So this data has to be ultimately coming from the clipboard only, no? So scroll down and there will be two separate pages created. So whenever we are running obj browse or report definition, where it is trying to get multiple instances, it will be creating one page. So whatever the page we have defined in the obj browse, that is taking for the processing. And in the report definition, did we create any page? We will not create any page. That is one advantage. So if we are defining one page there, and if we are trying to get the data onto that page, PRPC will be feeling like much burden. Why? Because it has to create one page for that. It has to generate one query to create the page, and again it has to load that page. But now one small advantage with this report definitions is it will be using one OOTB page, and it will be reusing it. So RD underscore report definition. So this is one OOTB page, what we have not created. Okay. So this will be reusing this. Reusing meaning it will be just creating its own page, which is already there, and it will not be having any burden of creating new page. So just click on that page to see the data. So this data is for, I think, state list. Why? Because we are getting only 18 results. Just click on that, we will be getting 78 results. This is for the hospital list. So these two are the pages that are created as part of report definition execution. So here also we can able to see this now. So PX results count. Why? Because this is using PX results OOTB page list. So these are all the results. So whenever we are loading this section, the source rule has to be executed. This one, source rule has to be executed, and source rule has to execute this report definition. Report definition has to generate one pre-statement query. It has to generate one pre-statement query based on the class name, and then again it will be converting itself into post query. It has to interact with the database, and finally it will be pulling the data and store it in OOTB page list called PX results. This is the process what it has to do. The same thing for the next report definition also. Okay, even here also the same process. So if you just click on this, it will be pulling 78 records by generating one pre-statement initially, then after post statement it has to store the data and pull it in and store it in the PX results. Again, PX results count. This is one OOTB property which will be used for the validations whether we are getting the data ready or not. So if we are not getting any data, then PX result count will be 0, and we can able to use this for validation. px result count is 0, I want to show some validation, like I want to show message like there are no data retrieved. Any customized message we can able to display based on this value only. So now let me refresh it. You understood not till now? So I'm just trying to refresh again. So my expectation here is, so whenever I'm trying to refresh this, flow action will be loaded. This particular control has to be loaded initially. Source will be loaded. Source has to execute the report definition, which is already created. No, I mean report definition has already executed. It has already interacted with the database. It is already having data ready onto the page, and it can able to use it. Okay, the same thing for here also. Now just to click on clipboard. Now if you go to clipboard, how many pages we are seeing? So this is for hospital, this is for hospital, and this is for state, and the third one state and hospital. Now again refresh, click on, I'm trying to refresh again. So 4 times we have refreshed. So just click on clipboard. So how many pages we are getting? So we'll be getting 8 pages. So even report definition has no mechanism to identify whether it can able to use the existing data or not. Why? Because page name will not be constant all the time. This will be OOTP page list. This will be as per the timestamp or something. Based on that, new page will be created. Whatever the data we have in this page, like 18 results, the same data we have here also. But report definition has no mechanism to identify whatever the data it is looking for is already there in the clipboard or not. So the same thing, whatever the thing we have seen with activities, it is following the same. So it is again hitting the database, again it is doing the same thing, again it is showing the data. So for how many times we refresh, those many times it is hitting the database, those many times it is hitting the it is executing the source rule, hitting the database, generating the queries automatically, and it has to convert it to pre to post. Then after it has to create one px results page, and it has to load everything there. And the disadvantage here is PRPC will be, sorry, activities will be using only one page, but with report definition it is using multiple pages. So size of this clipboard will be increased, no, which will be like in load onto this PRPC tool, no? For the same data, for the just refreshing, number of pages are increasing for the same data, so load will be increased. So the same disadvantage what we have seen with activities, we're trying to say the same using report definitions also. But PRPC recommends us to go with report definition instead of activities. So both are actually not the correct way in this approach. Okay, but comparatively, report definition will be much faster and lighter. PRPC will not encourage us to go for activities in this kind of scenario also. This will be much faster and very lightweight compared to activities. Now I'll show you how to create one new report definition. So you understood now till here? Uma and Tulani, both of you?
Yes, sir.
So this is one predefined, I mean, this is, we should not be calling this as an OOTP. Why? Because this report definition has been created as part of we creating this rule, this data type. So this is not OOTP, but PRPC has created for us. And now if I just click on this, we are getting this, the data. So this is what the data I'm expecting here. And if there is any business requirement where I have to get the same data in descending format. Okay, so I'm just saving this, run. So I'm getting the data in descending format. Agreed. So now if I use this report definition here as a source, how the data will be getting in the descending order only. But my requirement here is in this screen I should be getting the data in one way, and in the next screen I want to get the same data in some other user interface form like sorting order or anything. Ultimately data will be common, but I want to display in one way here, and in the next screen I want to display it in the another source, another way. So in that way, in that process, I did not close this. Okay, so in that process I cannot able to use the same report definition. Do you agree? Ultimately this report definition settings will not be changed. I cannot able to make the report definition to be executed conditionally. This report definition, ultimately whatever the value we're trying to get, it will be only in one way. My requirement here is the source here for the state value is report definition, and I want to get the data as per my business requirement. Now I'm going to the next screen. The same screen, I'm trying to use the same state selection drop down, and there I want to show it in the descending format. Okay, then can I use the same report definition as the source for the drop down also? I cannot able to do. Why? Because if I use the same report definition as the source, I will be getting in the ascending order, but my requirement is to go with the descending order in that case. So that's why we cannot able to use report definition in the multiple ways. If you want to get the data in multiple ways, we have to create those many report definitions. Understanding? So let me create one report definition newly, and if you want to get the same data in some other format like descending or anything, we can able to do that. With this report definition, I'm trying to get 3 values, and in the next screen I want to show only the region values, let us say, or only the state code values. So state code is also from this class only now, and I can able to use this same report definition. And if I'm trying to use the same report definition, I will be getting all these 3 values, and in the my requirement there is to I want to get only state code and in the descending format. Then I cannot able to use the same report definition. So what I'm trying to say here is, if we want to get the data in 2 different ways, although the data might be common, we cannot able to use single report definition. So instead we have to go for a new report definition created within the same class. Understanding? No? Now I'm trying to create one new report definition for you. That's it. It will be under reports. Click on report definition. Full states RT, like report definition. So just create and open. And this is how it will be looking like. And what are all the property values you are looking for? We have to define it here. I want to get state name, and state code. Okay, or region you want, you can able to do that. And I want to get it in the descending order. So I'm just saving this. Just run and see. So we're getting everything in the descending order. So this is for my second requirement. So understood now how to create one report definition. And now if I want to define source for this, you can able to check the basic properties from here also. You can able to see that they are using one report definition, and here this is the rule for that. Put RT. So you understanding what I'm trying to do? So just click on OK. Now how are we getting the data? The descending order, no? That is the second report definition we are giving the source, no? Understood?
Yeah.
So what is the source automatically changed here? The second drop down, no? I mean the second report definition, no? So in the reverse approach also we can able to come. Most of the people doesn't know. This will be coming on practice. You try to practice in this way also. Why? Because in the real time our designer studio will be very slow in some cases. What are all the sections we are seeing? So this is one of the section. What are all the sections we are seeing here? If it is created with this section rule, so this is one of the section rule. If it is created in this way, then we can able to get these sections loaded very fastly. But there will be some legacy applications which are started with pega version number 5 or 6. What they used to do is they will be creating these kind of sections with HTML code. They can able to write the HTML codes also, but PRPC will not encourage that. It will be asking us to go with dynamic layouts only, and this will be much faster and very light for the PRPC. That's why Designer Studio will be loaded very fast. And in the cases where they are using still legacy applications, they will not be having this HTML application. Sorry, they will not be having this automated sections loaded. Instead, they will be having the HTML code in place of these sections. Output will be the common one. Now, if I just to click on Live UI and open this, so this is the first icon. If I just click on the Live UI and open this, if you go to the Designer Studio, it will be taking almost like 2 to 3 minutes. There will be cases where this particular rule will be loaded within 2 to 3 minutes time also. Why? Because background it has to load all the HTML section, where we cannot able to wait for each and everything. Okay, this is our dynamic layouts now, so that's why the section rule will be loaded very quickly. So in that case, what we will be doing is we will be just making the changes directly from here for our testing purpose. So click on middle icon, I mean the settings icon, we can able to see the control properties and whatever the thing we are trying to do here, and click on OK. Those will be reflected in the Designer Studio also. Understood?
So that means, Chandra, we don't need to open the Designer Studio at all. We can do the all the necessary changes in this screen.
Provided that it should be off checked out.
Okay.
So not all the rules will be checked out all the time, no? So if I just lock this particular rule, so we still didn't discuss about this check-in checkout concept. If this particular rule has been checked out, sorry, if this particular rule has been locked, or if it is in the private mode, we cannot able to have this. Let me show you. We cannot able to have this enabled. We will not be having OK button there. Whatever the changes you're trying to do, you cannot able to save it. You cannot able to use this for just a display purpose also. So now, as of now, all our rules are still open. This is still in the development phase. We can able to make any changes here. So that's why PRPC will be allowing us to do the changes in the reverse order also. This is one important thing you just remember. In the real time, it will be very, very useful. So now we have seen how to create one report definition and how to give that as a source. So since the report definition, what we have created newly, which is given as the source here, we are getting the output as per that report definition. You can able to see, no? And if you're trying to use data table editor report, we'll be getting everything in the ascending order. Why? Because this report has been designed in that way, and this is designed in the another way. In order to get the same data in two different ways, we have to create two different report definition. That's the thing I want to focus now. Understood? Similarly, we can able to create one new report definition for this as well, for the hospital list also. If you want to put any conditions also, you can able to apply it here. So that's the advantage of report definition. So ultimately, report definition and activities both are behaving the same way. It is not having a mechanism to identify whether that existing page, so whether the data it is looking for is already there in the clipboard or not. It is keep on executing these rules blindly. It is again interacting, sorry, whenever the control is being loaded, it is loading the source rule, it is hitting the database, it is generating the queries, it is creating one page on the clipboard, and it is deleting the particular page, and again it is creating the page, and finally it is again showing the same data. So instead of following this whole approach, PRPC will be recommending us to go for data pages. So the purpose of data page is whatever the data we already have on the clipboard, it can able to reuse it. So that is the only mechanism with this data page. So in this whole process, how many times I execute, how many times I am refreshing this. So those many set of pages are creating, no? I mean, the same set of execution has been happening all the time. The set of executions like loading source rule, report definition, generating queries, this set. So if I'm just refreshing it, it is following the same process. For the first time, if it is following the same process and getting the data onto the clipboard, that's okay. Why? Because there is no other go for us. Initially, we have to interact with the database and we have to get the data. So for the first time, it will be better. And for the second time also, instead of just copying the data from the existing places, again, it is following the same thing. So this seems to be much disadvantage from the PRPC end. So that's why they will not encourage us to go for activities or the report definition in this kind of scenarios. It will be encouraging us to go for data pages. Why data pages? Meaning data page has an cache mechanism where it can able to identify whether the particular page is already there on the clipboard or not. So if it is already there in the clipboard, it will not execute all these rules. It will not execute the source rule. It will not execute the particular, sorry, it will not interact with the database. It will not generate the queries. It will not remove the page, and again, it will not insert the page, and from there it will not get the data. So initially, before executing the source rule only, it will be identifying whether that particular page is already there on the clipboard or not because of some cache mechanism. It is having some cache mechanism to hold the data, and from there it can able to reuse it. So that's why this whole process can be bypassed. If I refresh my page for 1,000 times or 2,000 times or 100, any number of times, ultimately only one time it will be hitting the database. So for the first approach, it has to hit the database for sure. Without hitting the database, any of these three rules cannot able to get the data. Okay, for the first time it is acceptable, and for the second time, for every time if it is following the same process, it is like a burden. But with this data page, initially it will be hitting the database, it will be following all the rules, it will be storing the data onto the clipboard, and from there on, if I'm refreshing it, or if I'm trying to run the new work object ID, or if I'm just logging off or logging in, every time it will be storing the data onto the clipboard. So if we have data ready on the clipboard, if we refresh it, you cannot able to see this particular rule again created. You just check in the clipboard or in the tracer, you cannot able to see that rule again created. Okay, why? Because it will be identifying whether that particular data what it is looking for is already there on the clipboard or not. If it is there, it will be just copying it from there. Understood? So the state drop down, if I give the source as data page, if I give the source as data page, initially for the first time it will be hitting the database and it will be storing all the data in one page, in the clipboard page. And now if I'm trying to use the same control in my next screen, or in some hundreds of in my next 10 screens, the same control with the same source. So for the first time it will be hitting the database, it will be pulling the data, and from the next time, whenever we're loading the next section, it will not hit the database again. Why? Because source is same, meaning it will be storing the same data onto the clipboard now. So that's why it will be using the same page and supply the data here, just like copy paste. Okay, for 100 pages or any number of times, database will not be hit. It will not be running the source rule. The source rule will not be executed all the times. Only for the first time it will be executed. So that's the biggest advantage with data pages. It will be improving the performance. Understood now, both of you? We'll discuss about data pages very detailed in the next class. There are many things to be discussed with data pages. We'll discuss about that. Now we got clear with this report definition and activities, now how to use that, and based on the business requirement. So it's not like we have completely avoid the activities. So based on the business requirement, we have to go for activities, and there will be some cases where we have to go for report definitions. Based on the business requirement, we have to act accordingly. Understood, both of you, Uma and Tulani?
Yes, sir.